righty. So that doesn't want to work. D now.
What's up?
Uh it's
It's Monday.
it's Monday. We're here. We're doing this early signing day preview. This is something I actually wanted to do on Friday, but my fiance was sick. Ended up getting me sick. I had to leave work early. I hate leaving work early at all because I never feel like everything is done. But that's neither here nor there. It's Monday, Nino. We are about to talk some college football. Dina, how you doing today?
Not too bad. I just watched the end of that crazy Western Kentucky game.
Mhm.
I love the bowl game, so I mean, especially overtime game like that. So good start to a Monday.
Absolutely. So we all know what the major news is. It's flipping season. Tis the season. I know everybody think it's the holiday season. For us college football fans, it is 100% flipping season. So let's get into the major news. Dylan Raiola, number one quarterback of the 2024 class, has flipped from Georgia to Nebraska. Let me get your instant take on that, D now.
I mean, like we were talking about in our group text. I mean, and I'll hit on this a little bit later, but I feel like, for one, I'm surprised it took this long.
Mhm.
Um, Two, it's here we go again. Um, and like looking ahead at his path, it's like three high schools, now three colleges. It's like, dude, just settle down. Just play the game.
For sure. I can definitely understand that. So let's go ahead and get into the topic at hand. Like I said, this is something I wanted to do with you, and I want to continue to do these special episodes with you because I know how much one you're tapping into the news, and two how much you're tapping into high school sports. So let's go over the current top 25 recruiting classes. I haven't checked the most updated one after this one, so this is based on the information I had a couple of days ago. Wisconsin coming in at number 25 with 25 commits. Kentucky at number 24. North Carolina, number 23. Nebraska was at 22. They're definitely going up. At 21, Texas Tech. 20, Ole Miss. 19, Texas A&M. It is amazing with all the turmoil Texas A&M has had the last few seasons that they are still a top 20 class in this current recruiting cycle. That's just amazing to me. At number 18, South Carolina. Number 17, USC. Number 16, Michigan. Number 15, Clemson. Number 14, Tennessee. Number 13, Penn State. Number 12, LSU. 11, Auburn with 20 commits. At number 10, Notre Dame. Number 9, Oklahoma. Number 8, Oregon. Number 7, Miami. Number 6, Texas. Number 5, Florida. Number 4, Alabama with 23 commits. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 1, Georgia. But like I said with Nebraska, I believe that it's also changing. D, now I'm gonna go off script a little bit here. You put something in our group chat the other day, and I always love our group chat, maybe a week or two ago. And I'm not sure if it was an anonymous coach or not, but they were saying how they would rather have a transfer portal, a highly touted transfer portal prospect over a highly touted high school prospect. And some of the things were you got the top 8, the top 10, flipping season. A lot of things are being done for clout. How do you feel about that? I want you to weigh in on it.
I would have to actually 100% agree because, like, I'm going to use Riley Leonard as an example. When he left Duke, it was almost a foregone conclusion. It was Notre Dame or nothing, to the point where he had the no contact tag for in his portal. Um, so I would have to agree. Like, where the kids are going to go, but for all these high schools, like you said, it's top 8, top 10, top 20. I've even seen like these are all the schools that I've got offers from, and it's like 30 plus. It's like, who cares almost at that point? It's let me know when you're down to your top 3 if I have a shot at that point, and I could care less before that. That's just me.
So when we were doing the game planning for this episode, we kind of knew flips were coming.
Hmm.
They happen every year. We've seen some of the amazing flips from the 2022-2023 cycle. We talked about Dylan Raiola in the opening. What flips do you think may be coming soon? In addition to that, how will those flips change the landscape of where teams are ranked for recruiting classes?
Yeah, so I think the top 5, 6 all comes down to the state of Florida recruits. We just saw today Xavier. F. I'm gonna not even try to pronounce that last name. The safety flipped from Florida to Texas, so that could be a little bit of sway. But then you also got Jeremiah Smith, who may be linked to Florida State, and then also Miami. But I think Miami, if they can pull off their their hat trick with some of these big name recruits, I could honestly see them going from where they seven in this previous poll to maybe top four, even top three, because they have Ohio State commit Jordan Lyle, who is potential flip. They got Florida State lineman, defensive lineman Armando Blunt, who is like on 247 is predicted to flip to Miami now. And then they have the top JUCO lineman that's committed to Ole Miss, Markel Bell. Um, so those are the big three. But then, like I said, also Jeremiah Smith, that's kind of an outlier. But I'm also seeing Cedric Bailey, who's an NC State QB commit. They're going hard on him, and I don't, I don't really see that one happening that much either. Just because they're in one of the final two for Cam Ward. I can see if they miss out on Cam Ward though, leaning heavy on him. So I really think if Miami can flip three, four of their six targets, I really see them being the big riser this year.
And we seen that happen with last year's cycle as well. So it leads me to my next question. Coming into this, we had the idea that the Raiolas they're deep in when it comes to Nebraska. You know, we're talking about generations of Raiolas that have played with the Cornhuskers. When you look at that, I always thought that the Cornhuskers had one of the number one fan bases in college football. My grandmother, who was in Lincoln studying for some aviator thing, this is years ago. I'm talking about early 70s. She had called my dad, who was really young. She was like, nobody's doing anything. Like it's 2, 3 p.m. on a Saturday. She said everything is closed. Like when I heard that story, I'm like, the fan base that they have is just tremendous.
Mhm.
What do you think ultimately led Rayola to Nebraska?
Um, I mean, like you said, Nebraska, they have the all-time record for most sellouts at home. It's pretty much all there is to do in Nebraska. Um, but I think, like you said, his dad, two-time All Big Ten or Big 12 lineman, was part of the last remaining teams of the Nebraska dynasty. Played with Heisman Trophy winner Eric Crouch. Uh, his uncle now being hired this previous season as the lineman. I think that really weighed heavy on his decision. And then Matt Rule, he's really respected in college football as a program builder. Kind of does it the right way. Yeah, he had that hiccup in Carolina, but I've always seen him as a college football coach. And from what he took, the dumpster fire Nebraska was under Scott Frost to fringe bowl. I mean, they realistically had a chance of winning 7, 8 games in his first season had it
Right.
not been for the mistakes. I think seeing that potential that's there also played a big factor. But I mean, I also kind of feel bad for the kid at the same time because yes, his dad, his uncle are at Nebraska, but I don't know if a lot of people know Matt Stafford is actually his godfather, which
Wow.
blew my mind because I did not picture that age gap
Right.
there. But obviously heavy ties to Georgia. So I mean, I wonder how much of it was like, no, Georgia's better, but no, Nebraska, you know.
Right.
So but again, I'm surprised it took this long.
Yeah, it's a couple things that came to mind with me. You know, was it the emergence of Carson Beck? Like, what were some of the things in the back of his mind that made him say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and go to Nebraska? And I think you brought up a great point. Just the culture that Matt Rule is building. We've seen a lot of Scott Frost teams, they just weren't disciplined. Like some of the bonehead coaching
Hmm.
mistakes that he made. We remember the debacle over in Ireland, last year against Northwestern. So we just think about what Matt Rule was able to do year one. The sky's the limit, and he's probably going to end up with having a top 15, maybe even top 10. we're talking about recruiting cycle. That would be
Yeah, I
fantastic.
mean, there's all these kids that Nebraska still potentially uh, a team for them that hasn't committed. So, I mean, once you get one stud, everybody wants to flock to talent and play with talent. I will throw this out. One person who I like out of this entire Raiola saga is Ryan Puglisi. He is a four-star quarterback that signed with Georgia. He never wavered, no matter what was going on. He actually had his signing ceremony on the 12th, and multiple Georgia football staffers went out and were there with him. And I mean, you know me, I like the kids who aren't afraid of a little bit of competition. And
Absolutely.
obviously, Georgia wanted this guy. He's one of the top quarterbacks, but he wasn't afraid. He was like, I'm going to go there, I'm going to compete, and may the best QB win. And so I just want to give him his flowers.
Hey, that's phenomenal. And you have been very consistent with that. So let's address the elephant in the room. What happens with now three-star prospect Daniel Kalen? How you think, what do you think that people around him are doing? And what do you think that the Cornhuskers are doing to make sure they still secure him?
Well, I know for sure that they have said that, hey, whether we get Rayola or not, we are still going to offer you a scholarship. So, first off, kudos to Nebraska for not just dumping him as soon as they
Right.
get their guy. Ideally, I would like him to go in there and compete at least 1 year, see if he can upset, I guess, the favorite. But at the same time, you got to think he pulls his commitment. It's a super crowded QB room at that point. If he goes there, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but he's going to be the underdog, probably QB4 right off the bat, considering they got Rayola, they're returning Chuba Purdy, Harburg. Um, so at the same time, like I totally understand if he decides to decommit and look elsewhere.
Yeah, you would have to respect it. And it leads me to my next question. So, if we're reevaluating the 2022-2023 recruiting cycle, there were players that stood out to us that didn't get much playing time, like the Jackson Arnolds of the world or the Nikos, I am Alivas. And then we attended some spring practices and some spring games. And Kevin Concepcion was the name when I went down to Raleigh, North Carolina for their spring game. It was the instant name. I went there to watch a quarterback competition. After the second drive, every play, I'm finding where the hell is Kevin Concepcion? Because he was pretty much open every play. Who are some of the guys in this recruiting class that you think will take a year or two of development before we see copious amounts of return on that recruiting investment? And is there anybody that you think that will make an immediate impact in this class?
Yeah, I mean the obvious answers are going to be your touted quarterbacks, except for maybe Rayola.
Mm,
But you got Julian Sayin, who will get a year behind Milrow.
mm.
CJ Carr behind Riley Leonard now at Notre Dame. I will say one QB who you may actually see kind of early is going to be DJ Lagway.
I like
Um,
it.
and that may be solely for Billy Napier trying to save his job if Florida has a mediocre season again. Outside of the quarterbacks, I think obviously it's going to be the number one recruit, Jeremiah Smith. Wherever he goes, he's going to be one of the uh, more athletic kids that you see on the field, whether it's Ohio State. I could see him playing top three wide receiver there with Cardell Tate and Brandon Innes, whether it's at Florida State where all their studs are finally going to the draft. He could get a immediate playing on the outside there. So those would probably be my ones that I could see playing early.
I love that. I think that's a great answer. All right. So I think one final question for you, and then we may get into some rapid fire. Uh, will this early signing day live up to the hype? And we can say the national signing day as well. Live up to the hype as the last one. Also, do you have any crystal ball predictions?
Um, as for last year's, it could. Will it live up to Travis Hunter year? I don't think so because I don't think anyone saw Jackson
That was
State.
crazy. And then
Uh,
Dion did it again last year with Carmani McClain.
yeah. Um, so I it could live up to that hype. Um, But my crystal ball, I think I have to go. I think Miami pulls the rabbit out of their hat, and I
Oh
think
wow.
they are going to be the ones that flip a lot of kids. So I don't think they get Jeremiah Smith or Cedric Bailey, but I could see them flipping the running back and the lineman. So
I can dig it, man. Crystal ball for crystal ball. I like that. I can certainly dig it. D now, I truly appreciate your time. I don't know what your schedule is looking like. Wednesday, we'll talk behind the scenes. But if you want to do
absolutely.
a recap to day one, we could definitely do it. Hey
Oh
man,
yeah,
this is CFB Nation. Make sure y'all lock in. We get y'all college football content 365, where a lot of your favorite college football creators may go into hibernation after the end of the season. That's really when we come out of our shells. We enjoy the off season. We enjoy this sport. For my guy D now, I am the governor of college football. You all have a blessed one. Truly appreciate you.